History is not just filled with wars, kings, and heroes. Sometimes there are people whose actions push the limits of reason. Some are remembered for their genius, others for their madness, and some for their strange habits. Today, I will tell you about the 5 strangest people who ever lived. If you're ready, let's meet the most peculiar characters of the past. Imagine a philosopher from ancient Greece, a man who lived not in a house, but inside a barrel, who walked the streets in broad daylight holding a lantern saying, "I'm looking for an honest man." Yes, that man was Diogenes of Sinope. To him, people were too flashy, too pretentious. He obeyed no rules and mocked society's values. One day, Alexander the Great came to him and asked, "Is there anything you wish from me?" Diogenes replied without hesitation, "Stand out of my sunlight." Even Alexander admired his words. All Diogenes cared about was a simple life and freedom. If he were alive today, he would probably live not in the city, but in a park, inside a cardboard home. One of the smartest but most antisocial people of the 18th century, Henry Cavendish. This man was the scientist who discovered hydrogen. But what set him apart from the others was not his intelligence, but his strange fears. He was scared to death of women. He had servants in his house, but he would tell them, "Work without ever seeing me." So he had arranged his entire house so as not to come face to face with someone. He lived in the same order all day, ate the same food. He enjoyed solitude, but he was completely cut off from society. When he died, no one even knew he was this rich. His wealth turned out to be one of the greatest legacies of his time. Cavendish was a mysterious soul as much as he was an intelligent man. Meet one of the strangest men in history, Charles Domry. Born in the 18th century, this man served as a soldier in the French army, but what made him special wasn't his combat skill. It was his unstoppable hunger. A normal person would be full after one plate of food. Charles? He could eat meals meant for 15 people in one sitting. But it wasn't just about the amount. He ate whatever he could find. During his military years, food was scarce. Driven mad by hunger, he was recorded eating cats, dogs, rats, even candles. Once he was captured by the British as a prisoner of war. In prison, they gave him meat every day. But no matter how much they gave, he never felt full. One day he ate nearly 20 kilos of beef, and then, with a serious face, simply said, "I'm hungry." When doctors examined him, they found that his digestive system worked at an extraordinary speed. His body burned through food instantly, converting it to energy. That's why he was always hungry. Some believe he had a rare metabolic disorder, while others say he truly earned the nickname the human grinder. A stomach like his has never been seen again in history. Now it's time for one of the most brutal leaders in history, Vlad III, aka Vlad the Impaler. This man, who lived in the 15th century, ruled over the territory of today's Romania. But his rule was almost like an empire of fear. Vlad was giving such punishments to his enemies that just hearing his name was enough to make people tremble. Killing by impaling was his signature. It is said that he punished tens of thousands of people with this method. According to rumors, he would sometimes eat his meals in front of the bodies of those who had been robbed. But the strange part is this: his people saw this brutality as justice, because during Vlad's rule, theft, corruption, and crime had almost completely ended. Fear had restored order. Centuries later, Bram Stoker was inspired by this man when writing his novel Dracula. Yes, today's vampire legend was born precisely from his cruelty. In other words, Vlad the Impaler has become immortal in both history and pop culture. He left behind a truly blood-curdling legacy. And we came to the top of the list, to perhaps the most mysterious figure in history, Graf Saint-Germain. 18. It is inconceivable what is told about this man who has been walking around the palaces of Europe for centuries. No one knew where it came from. One day it was seen in France, the next year in England, and then in Russia. But wherever and whenever it was seen, it always looked the same age. People who knew him said that he had never aged. Some declared him an alchemist, some a magician, and some immortal. Saint-Germain claimed that he could make gold from metals, even found the elixir of immortality. He used to tell about repairing diamonds, giving people youth, but he never shared these secrets with anyone. The documents show that his death date is 1784. But the strange thing is that even 50 years after him, several people in Europe claim to have met him. Even in the 19th century, in the middle of the century, a countess said that Saint-Germain had appeared before her without ever aging. That's why some historians still think he may have been an immortal. Whether it's a legend or a reality, we don't know. But one thing is certain, Saint-Germain remains one of the rare people in history who did not disappear even with death.